Hello, welcome back. You're listening to episode 35 of the Podemup podcast. My name's Ollie, I'm joined by Tibbs.
Hello there.
And this is part 2 of our Sonic the Hedgehog 30th anniversary music special.
Yes.
Or Sonic the Hedgehog 30th anniversary music special and Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
If you like.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, where we're talking about a whole bunch of Sonic games, basically. And
Yes.
we're also playing a music track from each one. So...
Quickly before we get into it,
Yeah.
talking about the Sonic 30th celebrations,
Mm.
have you played the Minecraft thing they released?
I haven't, no. Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, how is it?
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it looked quite interesting. I only saw the trailer like once, and it looks alright. But
It's really interesting. They've recreated Green Hill Zone and 2 other zones. I think there's Sky Sanctuary and I don't know what the other one is. Probably Chemical Plant. It's always Chemical Plant.
It's usually Chemical. I think I saw it in the trailer, so it's definitely Chemical Plant.
Yeah, it might be Chemical Plant then.
Yeah.
So they've recreated those in Minecraft, and you get to navigate them in first-person view as Sonic, which is as disorientating and difficult to control as you'd imagine.
That's weird. Yeah.
You've got your spin dash. You've got if you double tap the sprint button, you go extra fast, like Sonic being the fastest thing alive that he is.
Yeah.
You got to collect your rings. You got to jump on badniks. They got little Minecraft recreations of Buzz Bomber and is it Motorbug? The little and the Piranha ones. They're all in little blocky Minecraft forms. It's really cute. It's really nice, the way they've done it. And it's you start off in Tails' workshop, and there's all loads of little Easter eggs from Sonic games scattered about the place, and
cool.
It's really good. It's worth checking out. It's like £6, I think.
Yeah.
So if you've got Minecraft, I would recommend checking it out. It's good fun.
Oh right, I got it on. Yeah, we've got it on PS4. Yeah, my wife normally plays it. I haven't really touched it much, but I might have a look.
Yeah, recommend it. It's lots of things for Sonic fans to say. Oh yeah, look at that. That's from Sonic.
That's from Sonic. That's a Sonic thing. Yeah.
That's a Sonic thing. No doubt about that. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Did you also hear the 30th anniversary symphony concert?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What did you think?
That's really good.
It's excellent. I thought
it's really good.
Yeah, really, really well made. It's just lovely to hear those tunes in symphonic form anyway, but just the presentation of it was remarkable. Yeah, stunning. Yeah, really, really good. I highly recommend anyone check that out. It's just symphonic versions of a whole range of Sonic music. A lot of the things we've covered in these 2 parts actually. And some nice vocal pieces at the end. So it's really, really good. Honestly, great. Right, should we get on with things?
Yeah, let's carry on.
Okay, so where we last left things, we'd done the 90s, we were at sort of the early parts of the noughties, just done Sonic Advance 2, so next up is Sonic Heroes. Let's do it. Our next game is Sonic Heroes. This was released at the very end of 2003 in Japan, and then 2004 for us. I've written the Game Boy Advance here, but that's obviously not right. It's for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. So it's the first multi-platform Sonic game, and it's the first sort of chink in the Sonic armor in a way, isn't it? It's the first big Sonic game that gets a little bit criticised.
Because I think people wanted Sonic Adventure 3, and it's not really what they got.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's difficult because I was really hyped for this game. Sonic Adventure 2 represented me coming back into Sonic in a big way, and then obviously Sonic Heroes was the next big game. So I was very I anticipated this a lot. I was poring over the gameplay videos and all that stuff. So much so that I went and got I think it was called a freeloader, which allowed you to play region-free games on the GameCube. I got the American version of Mario Kart Double Dash because it had a demo disc which included Sonic Heroes. So that's the only reason I got that. And then, because Sonic Heroes didn't come out in this country until February 2004, and the Japanese version came out at the very end of 2003, I went on PlayAsia and ordered the Japanese version, which is something I hadn't really done until that point. I didn't really import stuff, but I just couldn't wait a month and a half for that game, so I just had to have it. So I played this even before the Americans, which got it a few days later, on the last day of 2003. But I liked it a lot at the time. I still have quite fond memories of it. It's a team-based game where you play as Sonic, Tails and Knuckles all at the same time, where you switch between a direct control of one of them. They've all got different capabilities. So obviously Knuckles is power, he can chuck the other two at stuff, Tails flies them, Sonic is the speed character, and there's different teams as well that fulfill those roles. I liked the whole team mechanic. I thought it added an extra dimension to Sonic gameplay. You quickly switch between the different things to progress. I played it recently, and I haven't played it much in a while. I like the early levels, but I've tried a later level, and the level design does get a bit annoying, I must say.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a case. Maybe we're biased because we're Sonic fans, but I think it's another case of modern perceptions of it not being entirely accurate. It's not as bad as people think.
No, it isn't. I don't think. I mean, a lot of the levels feel like they're all sort of suspended in air, and so there's a lot of chance to die. And I can totally get the frustration that you get with that, because I died a few times with things that weren't really my fault. But I liked that it kind of harked back to the older games in terms of its design. Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 were very realistic. They were set in the real world with humans wandering around. All the levels were based on kind of realish places. This is much more kind of, checkered hillsides and, big casinos and things like that, much like the original games. I like that. They got some original ideas as well, like a haunted house, which you don't get in Sonic very often. And I loved all that. I like the music and everything. So yeah, it's I still have fond memories of it, definitely.
Yeah, I do as well. It does feel a little bit janky these days, but I've only got the PS2 version, which I've heard is not the best version to play. It's the worst of
the three, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so probably it's a bit tainted by that, but it does feel a little bit janky at times, but yeah, there's fun to be had with it. I think the idea of having the three characters switch between to use their each character's abilities to navigate the level, I think that's a nice idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not bad. I wouldn't go out of your way to play it particularly, but you could do a lot worse.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's worse to come. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there's worse to come.
Yeah, and I say that as a generally quite positive Sonic fan, but yeah, there is the worst to come. But yeah, before we do that, let's listen to a piece from Sonic Heroes. This is interesting. This is Mystic Mansion, and this is a level that has the track is made up of several different. I think they're 16-second long pieces, and the piece changes depending on which room in the level you are. So the version on the original soundtrack I never really liked because it didn't, they didn't put the sequence in an order that I like. So back in the day I made my own version based on the rips of all the 16-second clips. So I put them all together, and this is a world exclusive. This is my version of Mystic Mansion that I've had kicking around for quite a few years now.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
This is a podemup exclusive. So Mystic Mansion by Naofumi Hataya and Jun Sunoi. Okay, so this is the next one is the final in the trilogy of the Sonic Advance games, Sonic Advance 3 in 2004, developed by Dimps. More of the same, really. I think the level design is less focused on speed in this one. It's more sort of a bit more moving left and right a bit. The main gimmick for this was that you could pair up the characters in any form you wanted. So you can have Knuckles being followed by Sonic if you wanted, sort of traditional Sonic 2 style. Any combination that you wanted, really. And they gave their own sort of double team moves along with it that were unique. I must admit, usually I just play the Sonic and Tails, but it was a nice idea and it was a logical one for the Sonic series. I like Sonic Advance 3. The controls are a little bit slippery, but I like some of the level ideas in it. They explored areas that you don't normally see in Sonic games and things. Anything to add?
Nothing to add to that, really. I'd agree with that. The handling isn't the physics do feel a bit off compared to the other games in the series. But yeah, it's a fine way to cap off the trilogy, I think.
Yeah. So this is it's really good, probably the best soundtrack of the three, in my opinion. And this is a track I desperately want a remixer to get his hands on. This is Ocean Base Act 1 by Tatsuyuki Maeda, Yutaka Minobi, and Teruhiku Nakagawa. Okay, so we move on to Shadow the Hedgehog, 2005 for the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox.
Yeah, you weren't lying when you said there was worse to come.
Well, this was controversial from the get-go, wasn't it, this game? From the very first trailer, people did not like what they saw. This is a spin-off starring Shadow the Hedgehog, introduced in Sonic Adventure 2, that kind of carried on from there, sort of tied up the loose ends that his story set out, really.
I remember you having a bit of a complaint on MSN about this at the time, about how negative the Sonic community was.
I probably did, yeah. I mean, that's... From this point on, I did a lot of that, actually. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting ideas in this game. The gameplay, I played it recently, and I couldn't get on with it, really, to be honest. At the time, I quite liked it. And I think if you play it for the first time, it's okay. I think the concept is that Shadow doesn't remember where he really comes from, so he in each level you've got several people, different characters appearing, and you can change your allegiance to them on the fly. And the one that you complete the level, they'll give you a different mission. If you complete that mission, you'll go on a different next level compared to it. So the levels kind of span out a bit like, if you imagine the Outrun thing where you choose a different route. It's kind of like that, but in Sonic level form, which is an idea I really, really like. That you can sort of change your route through and find these different levels that you couldn't get. So yeah, there's that. I've never personally had much of a problem with Shadow holding a gun. That seemed to be the big thing that people hated at first. It doesn't particularly bother me. I don't know about you.
It's just a bit crap. I think that's all it is. It's not particularly offensive or or bad. It's just one of those ideas that just makes you just shake your head and think, why?
Okay, well, fair enough. I know a lot of people share that opinion. I was thinking more from a gameplay perspective. Okay, so you have gunplay in Sonic. That's not a terrible idea in principle. I was interested to see where it would take you. Yeah, I didn't mind it at the time. It wasn't my favourite game. I didn't replay it a lot after completing it. Going back to it now, it's sort of fairly mediocre game of that sort of time period, really. But if you've never played it, I wouldn't particularly suggest it. But it's not as bad as people say. And people made a big deal as if it were kind of like the next big game in the series, and I've always thought of it just as a spin-off, like an experimental thing, so it doesn't really matter if it's that
I always
bad.
saw it as like like a spin-off or like a B game. It's just.
Yeah, it's just one of those. There's also this, but people seem to take it. I think perhaps because it's got such a deep story by Sonic standards. It's people put it as more important than it really has. But yeah, so Sound of the Hedgehog. Let's take it or leave it. The track I've chosen is Sky Troops by Jun Sunoi. Right, so next, I think released on the same day as Shadow the Hedgehog, if I recall, Sonic Rush on the Nintendo DS.
A much better game by any measure.
It's funny, I'm embarrassed to say this, but at the time, I was more into Shadow than Sonic Rush. I got them both on the same day, and I played more Shadow than Sonic Rush, I'm sorry to admit. Yeah, but I don't know. It's 2D platformer. This is where the boost thing comes from. This is the first boost game, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's you hold a button, Sonic goes fast, and he sort of bashes through enemies. There's usually a bar that depletes that you get by collecting rings or something else, other stuff in later games. And that forms a lot of the principle of the game. So if you remember, Sonic Advance 2 did things very fast. This does the same sort of thing, so you're whipping through. It uses both screens of the DS, so Sonic sort of darts. You've got almost like two views of it. So if you're on the bottom view at the time, you see what's above you. Then Sonic suddenly goes to the top screen, you can see what's below you. It's quite an interesting idea at the time. Good use of the two screens. Makes it a bugger to play on emulation these days. If you want it, you're confined to a small vertical area of the screen to play, because you can't really put them next to each other. But that's a minor gripe. Yeah, it's a good game.
Oh, it's a great game. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the bosses are the only thing I really have issue with. They're too hard and they're too unfair.
Yeah.
Like, I played the first level recently, quite enjoyed the first level. Played the boss, I just kept dying on it. It's the first boss. It just kept knocking me off this thing, and you don't really get much warning that he's going to do it, and then you've got to do the whole thing again. And I remember hating the bosses at the time. They have a weird ring loss thing where if you get hit by something in the boss, your rings will either drop in a neat pile or fly out everywhere, and you're impossible to get them again. So yeah, that kind of thing really bothered me at the time. Haven't really touched them since.
It sounds like I've had enough. I'm putting that down. Not touching that again.
Yeah. Back to Shadow the Hedgehog. Yeah. I think that's pretty much kind of what it was, really, if I remember rightly. But I did go back to it, and the levels are good. The levels, they're quite fun. It's famously got a very well received soundtrack.
It reminds me very much of something that would go with Jet Set Radio.
That's because it's by the same composer.
Ah, there you go. I didn't know that.
Hideki Naganuma,
I
think, is the guy. Yeah, he did the soundtrack.
I did not know that at all. That's funny.
That's why it sounds so much like Jet Set Radio.
Yeah,
it's the same guy. Yeah. People love it. At the time, I didn't like it so much because I wanted something a bit more Sonic-y. But I appreciate it for it, especially having since played Jet Set Radio on the podcast. It's there's some good tracks there. You've chosen Leaf Storm, which is the first level. Yeah, any reason?
I just thought it sounded. I was going to make an insightful comment about how it sounded like Jet Set Radio, completely oblivious to the fact that it was by the same guy. Shows how much research I do before I come onto these shows. I don't just wing it, obviously. But no, that was going to be my point. So,
okay, well, you've already made it. So we'll pop this piece of music on, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Leaf Storm by Hideki Naganuma and Teruhiku Nakagawa.
Right there.
Right then, awkward times coming now. We've got some Sonic the Hedgehog on Xbox 360 and PS3. Yeah, a little bit sheepish about this one. Sonic 06, as it's more commonly known these days. And
the dark times.
The dark times, yeah. I was in complete denial about this game. I was like, I wasn't having any of it. No, it's a good game. It's a good game. You just have to not touch this dash panel at this particular angle. You have to not grind this rail in that way, and everything will be fine. You don't get any glitches. You just walk. You just go around the glitches, and all will be well. Just turn off the internet. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't accept that I'd invested so much excitement in this game coming for it to be disappointed. And I played it all through. I
was going to say, I think you've got the achievements for completing it with every character. I think.
Oh, I completed it. I completed it the first weekend. Yeah. I was at university at the time. It's my first year, and there was a TV set up in the little communal area. And I thought, I'll get my 360 out there. I'll get, I'll go out first thing in the morning, because the post was unreliable in that place. I didn't want to risk getting a pre-order, so I went out, on that Friday morning, got it on game, popped it in, just sort of sat there, and this, the other guys are very nice about it, but one of them, he was a sort of outspoken Norwegian guy, saying, "Yeah, have you seen the reviews of this game?" And picking holes in it while I was playing, and I just put it back in my room after the first day.
Your secret shame.
My secret shame, yeah. But what I will say is, I played it recently, and I didn't hate it, even after all these years. I haven't played it very much at all. Even when Sonic Unleashed came out, I kind of stopped playing it. I've only played it a few handfuls of times since then, because obviously that was much better. But I didn't hate it. I played a handful of Sonic levels, and obviously I died a few times, because you do in that game. But I still have a little bit of a soft spot for this game. I must admit, I won't defend it. If anyone wants, if anyone's saying, "Oh, it's a terrible game, it's all glitchy and everything," I'm not going to argue against that. But it's a guilty pleasure. What can I say?
The thing is, up until now, I could say with most of the games, even the less well received ones, I could honestly say I get what they were going for. I could see what the intention was, and it didn't pan out the way they wanted it to, but there's a core of a good idea there somewhere.
Yeah, I can see your intention with this this sentence as well.
I think I can say it with this. I don't like the style. I don't like the human characters. The way he flaps about holding onto the whale in the first level.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. I hate that. Yeah, it's really silly, that.
I just don't understand it. When I play it, I'm just in a state of constant perplexedness of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
I've tried to find out, to try and get a glimpse of what the intention of this game was, but I can't. I don't understand it. I don't know what they were thinking.
I think, see, of all the Sonic games, this is one of the ones I want to know most about, the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah,
you hear little snippets. I think I heard somewhere recently that the team was cut in half, and in order for some of them to work on Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii, which obviously harmed its development. They had a certain deadline to meet. I think Xbox were putting pressure on them or something. So obviously it's an unfinished game.
Well, I think Sega were insistent it come out in time for the anniversary, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, which is silly, really, because they don't. The 25th anniversary recently didn't have a proper game out with it. No one seemed to mind. I think that may be part of it. Obviously, it's got that Christmas deadline as well, which they're always keen on hitting that November thing for these sorts of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just it was that the opposite of that Nintendo thing where they they say that what's that quote from
bad game can be delayed, a good game can be delayed, a bad game is bad forever, or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
something like that, isn't it? And that's very much the opposite attitude that Sega had at the time. It's basically just get it out there and we'll sell, because it's got Sonic on it, we'll sell loads. Yeah, it's just, it didn't pan out, did it? It was a bit of a disaster for all of us.
I bought it knowing the reviews.
Okay,
and
right.
I knew the reputation it had, but I wanted to like it, and
Yeah.
I bought it expecting it to be, again we've mentioned that, around that time people tended to be quite unfairly negative towards Sonic games. And I guess part of me hoped it was that people being, oh, Sonic's uncool and it's just a rubbishy old.
It's weird because we've only
platform.
really had Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Heroes at that point, really, isn't it? That's the only ones you could really throw the accusation at.
Yeah.
It's fun, looking back, it's funny to have that opinion, really, even at that time. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I bought it wanting it. I wanted to like it, but I didn't. But
no, it's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I think no one would argue it's probably the lowest point in the Sonic franchise up to now.
I mean, they didn't do any favors for themselves by calling it Sonic the Hedgehog, did they?
No.
And marketing it as a sort of a what's the word? A reimagining of a soft reboot of Sonic. Which it isn't in any regard, really, even in the story. But that didn't help. And the fact that it's just a major game in the franchise can fail so spectacularly is quite, it's quite significant.
Yeah, like I say, the overwhelming thing of the whole thing is just, what were they thinking? I don't know what the thought process was. But it is what it is, and things did get better. So it's a blip on the radar.
Yeah, I like to think of it. Anyway, what it does have that's good about it is a good soundtrack, and I've chosen a good piece from that soundtrack. It marks a change. Until now, we've had Jun Sonoi being the main sort of leader of the Sonic, the sound of Sonic. He would do a lot of the sort of the rock inspired kind of stuff in Sonic Adventures and Sonic Heroes. This was a much more varied approach by Tomoyo Otani, who takes over and is still kind of the head guy now for Sonic sound. And for that purpose, I've chosen a sort of a more kind of relaxed thing than what we've been hearing so far, which is quite energetic stuff. To mark this kind of change, because it was very striking how different the soundtrack was compared to some of the earlier ones. But it's a really, really good one. It still hits all the sort of melodic beats that you would expect, but it's just in a different way and sort of slightly more interesting instruments and stuff. So this is from the level Flame Core. It's called The Cavern, and it's by Tomoyo Otani. Okay, so our next game, while we were all reeling from Sonic 06, the other half of Sonic team were working on Sonic and the Secret Rings for Nintendo Wii. This was in 2007. Did you play this?
No.
No, you didn't. Oh, right. It's
actually, I might have done once. I definitely haven't finished it.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's basically it's kind of an auto runner in a sense, but because obviously it was an early Wii game, so every early Wii game had to use the Wii remote in interesting ways. So Sonic's running constantly, and you've got to move him left and right by holding the Wii remote sideways and moving it physically left and right to dodge stuff. And when they focus on that it's quite a nice experience, because you're just sort of running fast, dodging stuff. It feels quite good, just shifting left and right. But it's when they sort of stop and do more platformy stuff, it really feels awkward. I think if I had to sum up the game in one word, it would be awkward.
Yeah. Is that the game where there was some controversy over there was a competition to have some fan art featured in the game, and it turned out someone had copied someone else's art or something?
Yeah, rings a bell. That might have been the sequel, Black Knight. Black Knight has fan art in it, so it probably was that one.
It's probably that one. Yeah.
But yeah, it's at this time Sonic games sort of started branching out into sort of themes. So this one was sort of themed on kind of the Arabian Nights and tales that are related to those kind of things. And you had other Sonic characters in it, but they were all playing like different roles. They were playing characters like Sinbad and that sort of thing, which is a bit weird.
Am I imagining it, or was it intended to be like a whole storybook series?
Sort of.
They ended up doing 2.
Yeah, they did 2. I think it might have been. It was an idea they were kind of running with, really. But yeah, there's some nice level ideas in it. It sort of branches out into new territories, that kind of thing. It's the soundtrack's pretty good, but it's when you have to do platforming that you can stop, but it is quite awkward. You have to sort of hold. I think how do you do it? I know you hold the Wii remote back to stop, and then kind of go backwards. If you want to go backwards, he sort of sidles back a little bit, and then you can stop by holding the jump button down and then releasing it. It was all a bit weird. It's not one I return to very often, to be honest. But it's interesting, I suppose. If you see it cheap, you could pick it up and you wouldn't have a terrible time with it. But yeah, it's one of those things, really. It's quite experimental. Sonic team were very experimental at this time, with lots of different ideas and things like that. Anyway, the track I've chosen from it is a good one. It's the level Levitated Ruin, aka High and Broken on the OST. I always prefer to keep to the level names rather than these names that they give the level music on the soundtracks. I don't like it when they do that. No. So this is Levitated Ruin by Fumi Kumatani. Okay, next, also in 2007, we have the sequel to Sonic Rush Adventure, on the Nintendo DS, developed by Dimps. This was, in terms of the Sonic gameplay, very similar to Sonic Rush. So you have the two screens on top of each other. Sonic dashes up and down between them, or with the boost button. But this one was kind of a bit more RPG-ish. No, it was, yes. Again, so this is a nautical-themed Sonic game. It's all sort of set in pirates and stuff like that. They had robot pirates and all that kind of stuff. So basically, all the levels took place on different little islands, and rather than just going to them automatically, you had to kind of sail to them using like a jet ski or a submarine later on, or a boat. You kind of plotted out your journey on the DS touchscreen. You had to collect materials from the levels to build new machines, talk to people. So it had a little bit more of an RPG-ish tone, a little bit more of an adventure.
I quite enjoyed it.
I did. I prefer it to the original. Yeah. I like Sonic Rush Adventure. It's a good little game. It's what I really love about it is that it's, in this country at least, I think it got an age rating of 12 because there's a character in it called Marine the Raccoon who only appears in this game, and she's kind of an Australian character, and she's I think they didn't realise that this word isn't really acceptable here, but she says the word bugger 4 times in the game. And it results in it getting an age rating of 12 for, like, you know, what would otherwise be a child-friendly Sonic game.
Yeah.
With like a bad language sort of symbol on it, which I thought was really funny. It's a bit of a slip up on their part. Yeah. So the track I've chosen, it doesn't have the composer of Jet Set Radio doing the soundtrack this time. It's a much more sort of Sonic-y soundtrack. As much as I like the Jet Set Radio style, I think I prefer this sort of thing. So this is Haunted Ship Acts 1 and 2 by Tomoya Otani. I called him Tomoyo Otani earlier. I believe it is a Tomoya, so I probably called him something completely different. Sorry about that. Seiro Okamoto and Mariko Namba. quickly into 2008. This is Sonic Unleashed for the Xbox 360 and PS3, although an alternate version was also available on the PS2 and Wii, developed by Sonic Team. So this is the next big game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So trying to pick up the pieces from Sonic 06 created a much more presentable game, I would say, first of all.
Yeah.
It took what worked with these boost things in Sonic Rush. They obviously thought that worked well, so they've applied it to 3D Sonic. Well, this game is famous for having a day and a night version. So in the daytime version, it basically creates the modern boost 3D Sonic game. There have been several iterations of this. This is the original, really. So it splits between 2D and 3D gameplay. In the 3D gameplay, Sonic is moving. He's not moving automatically. You can stop him and move around easily, but it's very much directed forward. You're encouraged to keep going and sort of dodge stuff, react to things very quickly. And then there's a 2D version as well, and the levels sort of flip back and forth throughout. And these are really fun. I really enjoyed these. Felt like a very fresh way of doing 3D Sonic, and one that made sense. It sort of what it lacked in the momentum-based gameplay of earlier Sonic games. I think it made up for in just the general thrill of it. These were very exciting levels to play. Would you say that was true?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Of course, the other side of the coin is the werehog.
Yeah.
So this kind of ruins it a bit, really.
It does. Are you familiar with the Jurassic Park films?
Yes, very.
In the second film, The Lost World, John Hammond, the head guy at Jurassic Park, he's trying to convince Ian Malcolm to return to a second island so he can take some photos and stuff.
Yeah.
And he says, "Don't worry, I'm not making the same mistakes again." And Ian Malcolm replies, "No, you're making all new ones." And I think that pretty much sums up my feelings about Sonic Unleashed. It's like, yeah, brilliant. You've learned all the lessons from Sonic 06. You've undone all the bad. Great. Why have you added this werehog thing?
So, if you're not familiar, in the story, Sonic turns into a werehog, a werewolf style version of himself, and it happens at night, and in day he goes back to normal, and he loses his speed. And these are very sort of much slower platform levels, but they are quite dull. They're very, very long. It involves a sort of a beat-em-up style thing, which is handled fairly well. It just happens way too frequently. And the platforming is very precarious.
I'm going to say the platforming's pretty awful.
Yeah.
There's invisible walls. There's ledges that literally look like you should be able to climb up onto. You just can't.
Yeah.
Just can't do it.
Mm.
I don't like it.
No, it's not. Those levels are not what I return to when I play the game.
No.
I think if you can power through the whole game, you can just go back and play those daytime levels and you have loads of fun. I did that for months on end. It was brilliant. But the problem is the game seems to be very concerned about being too short. So, for one thing, these levels, the werehog levels, there's a daytime version and a nighttime version of each stage, of each sort of zone, if you will. The daytime version is, at its worst, probably about 10% the length in time-wise of the nighttime version. It really is just a quick run-through. It takes 3 minutes. The nighttime version will take you literally 30 minutes to just to wade through.
Wade is exactly how it feels,
and it's just that balance is just it's not a fair balance, is it? It doesn't. No. It just feels like you're just you're really earning these daytime levels.
And it's like you said, the daytime levels are so good as well. They're they're just good fun to play. I'm not saying they're the best Sonic has ever been, but they're just good fun. They're just fun.
Yeah.
If there was a whole game of that, I think the game would have been so much more fondly remembered and well received than it was.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame because I like this game a lot. Mostly for I kind of put up with the nighttime stuff. I wasn't really enjoying it, but it was all worth it for the daytime stuff, really. But it even makes you. It's so worried about it being too short that it even makes you go back and replay stages to get more of these moon and sun medals in order to unlock new levels after that as well. So I don't know. It's just a little bit undercooked, wasn't it?
Yes.
That whole idea, really. Yeah, and Sonic Team know it these days. They don't really celebrate the Werehog or
I was going to say
back in any way, really.
I don't think he's been referenced or mentioned in anything else since.
I don't think so, no.
Not in the comics. There's no figures of him. He's just like erased from history.
Erased from history, yeah. No, it never happened, yeah. Anyway, does have a very, very good soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah, all the... it's got a very sort of world kind of theme, because it's in Japan it was actually called Sonic World Adventure, because he goes all around the world, not Earth but sort of an Earth-like planet where there are lots of similar. There's like a New York, there's like a sort of a European kind of city, China, that kind of thing. The one I've chosen is the one for the country Holoska, which is obviously a northern icy region. This is the daytime stage for Cool Edge, which I think, because we don't really have access to Ice Cap Zone anymore, the theme, because it's owned by Brad Buxer, all that kind of licensing nonsense. This is kind of a fairly reasonable replacement. Actually, it's got the same kind of vibe. It's very cool, and it's also being composed by Tomoyo Otani. So this is Cool Edge Day. Next year was 2009, and that saw Sonic and the Black Knight, which is the sequel to Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's another in the storybook series on the Nintendo Wii. I'm guessing you didn't play this one either?
No.
Yeah, you haven't missed much.
No. Again, I might have played it briefly, but certainly not to any degree that I could give any meaningful commentary.
Yeah, it's less worth catching up with than the first one. This was based on an Arthurian theme, so sort of Knights of the Round Table, that kind of thing. Sonic has a sword, which is somewhat controversial, I suppose. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. How do you describe this game? It's not very good, basically. Similar, it was also running similarly. You don't have to move the Wii remote left and right anymore. You've got access to the nunchuck, so you can move him with that stick, which is probably an improvement, I suppose. But it's just the level design. It's so dull. All you seem to be doing is just running, and then some enemies appear, and it's much easier to just jump over them than it is to interact with them in any way. And I haven't really played it much since I got it and finished it. I played it briefly the other day, just for the purpose of catching up with it on this podcast, and I played it when it was the 20th anniversary, just for the sake of playing some Sonic games. And that's it, really. And my overriding memory of it is that all I was doing was just running and jumping over enemies. And swinging. I think you swing the Wii remote to swing your sword, obviously. And it's just it just doesn't really work. It didn't do it for me. It's a bit dull. Yeah,
I think that's the general consensus from what I understand.
Yeah, it's certainly one of my least favourite Sonic games, I would say.
Yeah.
One of my least favourite 3D ones. The only really good thing I can say about it, it's got a reasonable story with a sort of a genuine twist in it, which was quite good. The user interface on the main menu is quite nicely designed, but if that's one of the only things you can find that's good about a game, it's not a glowing review, is it?
No, not really.
Soundtrack's okay for the most part, not one of the best, but the track I've chosen from it is really good. It's actually by Tommy Tallarico. This is the only track he did in it, and this is cool, and it's like a really quite awesome rock theme. It's really good. So this is
sounds like it's in keeping with the whole Arthurian theme then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
He loved a bit of rock, didn't he?
He loved a bit of rock. Yeah, absolutely. He's always rocking out. So this is the level Molten Mine by Tommy Tallarico and Jun Sonoy. 2010 saw Sonic Colors on a Nintendo Wii.
Yes.
And it was much better received.
Oh, it's very good.
Than most of the games we've talked about in the last in the last half hour or so. Yeah. This was, but it was just a 3D Sonic game, taking its cues from Sonic Unleashed. Similar boost stages, less about running, I would say. It introduced the Wisp idea. So the idea of the game is that Eggman has created an interstellar amusement park by stealing these aliens called the Wisp and using them to power stuff, as he tends to do with living organisms. And he's built a big theme park out of several planets in the sky, which is pretty cool. And you can retrieve these wisps, and when you do, they give you special powers. Like the laser wisp can have you firing off into particular directions. The drill wisp is pretty cool. You can drill right into the ground. Hover, very self-explanatory, that kind of thing. So it was an interesting kind of ideas that didn't ruin the game. They were fairly well done. They just added to it. Really nice level designs, like visually, like lots of different worlds you hadn't really played before. So it felt very unique. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's funny, last year or last couple of years, a lot of Sonic fans sort of turned on it a bit for some reason. They decided that the level design is a bit blocky. The cutscenes are really cringy. Oh no, it was a terrible game. We were wrong to say it was a good game. And then earlier this year, when they announced that they're doing a Sonic Colors remaster, everyone was like, "Oh my god, Sonic Colors amazing!" Woo!
Oh no!
And it's just.
I gotta be honest, I was surprised by the Sonic Colors remaster. As much affection as I hold for the game, I spent a lot of time playing it. I do think it's certainly the best Sonic game on the Wii.
Yeah.
Can't imagine there were many people clamouring for a remake or a remaster.
There were.
It's a nice to have, but
yeah.
I'm a bit surprised that popped up ahead of, say, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, any of the big ticket Sonic games that they could have given a full remaster.
Oh yeah, sure. I think the only answer to that is because it was easier to do. Yeah. Basically, it's not in HD already, and it's on the Wii. I mean, everyone's got a Wii kicking around, but not necessarily plugged in. So it's worth it for that. All they got to do is bump up, the resolution and everything. But although having said that, they have put a lot of effort into it. They've remodeled a lot of stuff. They've got new music remixes and stuff. So they've put a fair amount in.
Oh, okay.
Although I must admit, the more I see and hear of it, the less I like of it, because the remixes aren't as good. I'm hoping you can switch between the two soundtracks, and some of the sort of the done up stages actually ironically look a bit darker and less colourful than the original Sonic Colors levels. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to see it, try it out. We'll play through it and everything, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted to just get it on PC and hope that people can mod these things back in to make the proper experience. So
yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
On PC it'll definitely be modded, but
yeah. So anyway, so that's coming in September, I believe. So that's the only real, other than this Sonic Rangers thing, that's the only real thing coming up. They're really pushing it as the 30th anniversary Sonic game celebration thing, which is a bit cheap, given that it's came out 11 years ago. But whatever. So you've chosen this track. This is the main theme, Reach for the Stars. It's a good little song, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I like the bit that goes. That bit. It's good.
It's a good bit. Yeah,
listen
I like
for it. You'll love it.
Yeah.
When it comes on, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's right. Actually, that's." Really good.
Yeah, that is a real good. Yeah. So this is by Tomoyo Otani and vocals by Jean-Paul Marklouf. Well, I'm probably saying that very wrong. Marklouf. Sorry, Jean-Paul Marklouf.
Take off at the speed of sound. Bright lights, the colors all around. I'm running wild, living fast and free. Got no regrets inside of me. Not looking
told you. It's good.
It is good. Yeah, did you hear the little bit? Yeah?
Yeah.
Tibbs will do it again for us, just in case you missed it.
Like that.
Yeah, that bit. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So, 2011 is Sonic Generations time. This was the 20th anniversary game. And it was, I would say, a lovely celebration of all that has come before.
Yeah.
Did you like Sonic Generations?
I did. Yeah, I did. I liked it more at the time than I have in the years since.
Oh, okay.
But that's purely... I think it's because there's been a lot of repetition of the zones that were in it ever since. It makes me less inclined to go back and play it again. I think that's all it is.
This is the thing. This was the biggest difference between the noughties and the tens in terms of Sonic games. There are many more Sonic games in the noughties than the tens because Sega started to run out of money, I think. But the big difference is in the noughties, Sonic games were much more experimental. They wanted to do lots more new ideas, so they didn't want to look too much at the past. So every game was a new idea, going to new places. In the tens, there was too much looking back at the past in a superficial kind of way. So, let's just chuck these zones in, and the fans will love it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it started with Sonic Generations, which at the time was welcome because we've just been through a whole decade where that wasn't the case. So
yeah,
it was
and
nice.
Like you say, it was a really nice celebration of Sonic history up to that point.
Yeah, and the great thing is they brought back classic Sonic, which is something I thought they'd never do. So the modern design originated from Sonic Adventure, and then the original sort of shorter, pudgier design from the original games. The two met each other in a sort of a time travel event that had them running through various different zones from their pasts. And it was really cool. You had a classic version and a modern version of each one, and yeah, it was really good. I think
it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the classic version had obviously the 2D gameplay. It was all in 3D. It was 2.5D really. The engine was pretty good, and then the modern gameplay was sort of a more refined version of the Sonic Unleashed formula, I would say. So it's the boost gameplay, less sort of falling off things. I found playing recently Sonic Unleashed, I found that the button for homing attack is the same as the button for boost. So if you misjudge a homing attack, you'll boost and go flying off the level.
Yeah.
Whereas in Sonic Generations, I don't think that happens. I think it's the same button as jump. So things like that, little tweaks that make it much easier to play. And it is a game that I come back to all the time, and I absolutely love. I think I know what you mean about since then they have redone these levels, but it doesn't ruin it for me because I think
it doesn't ruin it, but I'm less inclined to go back and play it. I think because it's just like it's always Green Hill, it's always Chemical Plant, it's always Sky Sanctuary, and particularly Sky Sanctuary. I don't really understand the apparent reverence for it. It was never really a standout level to me personally.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah.
I love Sky Sanctuary, but it's not a well-known one outside of the Sonic community.
No,
it appears at the end of Sonic and Knuckles, so you would think you'd pick an earlier like Mushroom Hill or something. But they're really well done, the way they brought the graphics up to date.
Mm-hmm.
The levels are really well designed, really fun to play. I will often just, at the end of an evening, I've just done a main game, say the book club game for example. I've got 10 minutes, I'll just load up Sonic Generations, play a couple of levels, and I end up sitting there for half an hour just picking more and more levels to play. And there isn't really a bad one in the whole thing. Even the extra levels that you get, above the the whole white world thing, and you go up find all the extra little missions, they're good as well. There's just so much content in there really once you get up to those things. So about 90 different extra missions or something like that. And there's very few bad ones even among them, and it's just it's I think, in my opinion, it's probably the best 3D Sonic game, I think.
I think probably I think probably it is. I got it on the 360, and I also got the 3DS version, because there's exclusive levels on the 3DS version, but I honestly can't remember what they are. But they're there.
They are there, yeah. There's a good selection on there as well. There's things like Casino Night, Emerald Coast, and a couple from like Sonic Rush even, So that's a fairly good version as well.
It is,
obviously it's completely
it
different.
Works surprisingly well, yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely different game essentially, but it's good too. So yeah, but I highly recommend anyone checking it out if you haven't really delved into Sonic or 3D Sonic since the early days. I think that's definitely one of the ones to go for.
I really want to get the collector's edition they did for it.
Do you not have it? I've got it.
I don't have it.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it initially, and I think I got it from Amazon, and it wasn't coming in time for the release date. It was just going to come like the Monday after, and I couldn't possibly go that weekend without playing it. So I just went out to HMV and bought another, just a normal copy. Yeah, I double dipped, but I was so looking forward to this game, and I just couldn't stand waiting another weekend for it. That was just out of the question for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the collector's edition is really good. Yeah,
it's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. So I've chosen the track. The soundtrack is sublime for this game. It's mostly composed of older tunes, but they're all been updated really, really nicely. My favourite one, I'm not really going to go for a classic one. I'm going to go for one from Sonic Unleashed, this is Rooftop Run Act 2. This is one of my go-to levels in the game. It's really, really fun. It's a modern Sonic level. This music is probably one of my favourite Sonic tunes of the whole series. It's just it's just one of those exhilarating things you just sort of run through. It's almost a sense of euphoria when they get Sonic this right, and the music is there with you. It kind of, when we were talking about Sayonara Wild Hearts and how the music fits the gameplay so perfectly, and they become fused as one.
Everything sort of meshes together. Yeah,
that is exactly how I feel about Sonic levels like this, where you play the same every time you replay it. You replay the same sort of route every time, and you do the same things at the same sort of times. And as a result, the soundtrack is in the same places. So there's a bit in this track where it gets really energetic, and then it calms down, and you kind of take a breath, and it sort of that happens in the level as well. The gameplay slows down. Just for me, whenever I play it, it just happens to be that way. And it's just you feel how excited you've been getting, So I'm very passionate about this, as you can hear.
Yeah,
so this is so this is Rooftop Run Act 2 by Tomoya Otani. We're going to do Sonic 4 Episode 2 next, and you can't really talk about Sonic 4 Episode 2 without talking about Sonic 4 Episode 1, which came just before Sonic Generations, so we're going to probably talk about both of them, I should think. So this came out in 2012, Episode 2. Episode 4 came out in 2010, and this one was for the 360, PS3, mobile, and PC. And it was developed by Dimps and Sonic Team, I believe.
Yeah. I got a confession about this one, about Sonic 4. I got it on the day it came out, it came out like launched at midnight or something. I think I had my own, the old iPhone 3GS at the time, I think.
Yeah, that's what I would have had, yeah.
Yeah, I had that, and I had like a little website where I wrote like reviews that you and I think 3 other people ever actually read.
Yes, I remember it, yeah.
Yeah, and I gave it a really good review.
Yeah.
I thought I really enjoyed it. I don't know what I was thinking.
No.
I really don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just caught up in the excitement.
I think a lot of people were, because it's
terrible.
It's I think the thing is, it's Sonic 4. It's the game you waited at the time 16 years for.
Yeah.
So
I think I was just in denial. I was playing it as just
you did a Sonic 06
really
with me. Yeah, that's exactly
really
how.
Good.
Yeah. I still think it's okay as a game, but not as a Sonic 4. Certainly.
No.
It's basically, if you haven't seen it, it's not a Sonic Mania. It's not like they've gone back and done the same graphics as the original games and just sort of pretended it slots right in there in the middle of the 90s. It's done with sort of drawn graphics and pre-rendered stuff. I think Sonic's sort of pre-rendered, but it's modern Sonic. It's not classic Sonic, and they do things in a classic style, but in a much more obvious way than you would really want. So there's a Green Hill clone, there's a Casino Night clone, there's a Labyrinth clone, and there's a Metropolis clone, and there's a few original ideas in there, but they're mostly just carbon copies of those original levels. And it was just a bit underwhelming in that regard, but the thing that most people had the problem with is the physics. There's just no momentum in the game whatsoever. I feel like some middle manager came along at some point, played an early version that did have some sort of momentum, but the thing is, he'd never played a Sonic game before. And he said, well, what? He's just sort of rolling by himself. What's going on? I don't like this at all. No. Make sure that you only move when you hold forward.
Yeah.
If you stop holding forward, you stop dead. That's the way it's got to be. And I think that something like that probably happened, and the result was that people hated it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anyone in the Sonic, I think there's a YouTube channel very well known in the Sonic fandom, Cybershell. He's got a video, Why Sonic 4 Sucks. I would recommend watching that. If anyone's not sure about what you're talking about, physics and momentum and everything like that, he demonstrates it quite succinctly what's wrong with the game, and there's a lot wrong with it. But physics is the main thing. It just doesn't feel like a Sonic game should feel.
No, you kind of, even at the time, because I was swept up in it as well, and even at the time I remember thinking, there's something that doesn't feel right about this, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Do you know what I mean? And then, sure enough, if you play it, like, even if you do a spin dash but don't hold right, he will go 3 feet and then stop.
Yeah, and then just stop.
And it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't even work as a move.
And they've added the homing attack in as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I really don't.
The thing is, if you were to take Sonic out of it, keep the level design and the physics the way they are, and replace all the Sonic stuff with a completely original IP that's like it is sort of a Sonic spiritual successor or a Sonic inspired game, I don't think it would be that bad, because once you kind of get the whole holding right thing, it's not unplayable. It's a game. It's a platform game.
It wouldn't be that bad.
No.
But I mean, you look at Freedom Planet, which was a Sonic game. It's essentially a Sonic game with, a few tweaks to the gameplay and some, all the original characters.
Yes.
That's 1,000 times better than Sonic 4.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
I'm
not saying it would be a great game, but I think it would be. I was going to say
it's just not.
It wouldn't be an atrocious game. But it's a shame, and the fact that it's called Sonic 4, it's just such a shame, isn't it? I mean,
I think alarm bells started ringing for me when they said it was going to be episodic as well. The idea of having, Sonic. I know episodic games was like the cool thing back then, but that never sat right with me either. Having the
Broken
Sonic
up
games
like that,
split up into, because it was meant to be. I think it was meant to be. Was it 3 or 4 games originally?
Possibly.
I think it was meant to be 3.
They were hoping to do 3 at least, I think.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they did episode 1 and everyone hated it. They did episode 2, no one really cared, although episode 2 does play a lot better than episode 1.
It does play a lot better. There obviously has been work done with episode 2 to try and address some of the complaints, but
yeah.
Short of overhauling the whole game, I think there's not much more they could do to fix it, really.
No, I mean, and that result means the two don't really feel like a unified game. Like, it's not like Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles where you connect them and they have exactly the same physics engine and it all goes seamlessly. The two games feel quite different.
Yeah, and that's the thing that even if they were going to do it episodic, they could have you would think. I mean, I'm not. Maybe this isn't obvious, but I would have thought an obvious feature would be to import your save data from the first episode into the second, so you can carry on.
Yes, and somehow merge the two together.
Yeah.
Because I think even though the versions of Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles on the 360, if you had both, I'm sure you could unlock like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, couldn't you?
That rings a bell. Yeah,
like you could actually connect them in a way, in a sort of digital way. So there's no reason why they couldn't do that, I don't think. But yeah, it's a shame really. Episode 2 is a lot better. They've done a lot with the physics. It's not perfect, but there is at least momentum in it. And the levels are still quite derivative, but there's a lot more originality in there as well. There's at least one completely original level in it, which is good to have. So yeah, episode 2 is the one to go for if you want to go for either of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing that happened, and yeah, a lot of people don't really talk about it anymore, I think.
No, I mean it's a wasted opportunity.
It was, yeah, it was a real shame.
The excitement when it was actually, this is going to be Sonic 4.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the fact that
amazing, and then
in a few years, some fans will do a much better job with something they probably could have called Sonic 4 had this not happened.
Oh, imagine if they had.
Yeah.
Imagine there's another universe somewhere where that was
where
Sonic
that happened.
4.
Yeah, and it was
and
a perfect Sonic 4. There's world peace.
Yeah.
All the warring factions of the world united because we had the proper Sonic 4. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, this one has unlike the game that we're referring to, it has a sort of a Mega Drive style chiptune soundtrack in it, composed by Jun Sonoy. The particular track I'm going for is Sky Fortress Zone Act 3. This was from episode 2, and yeah, give it a listen. we've talked about this next game before. I believe I'm guessing you still haven't played it. Sonic Lost World?
No, I played the demo.
Yeah.
But I haven't played it. Because it's just a bit too expensive for me to take a chance on. I want to get it for the Wii U, but every second-hand copy I get, I find it's like £20-25. It's like that's a bit much to take a gamble on, really.
I don't think it sold well. I mean, the Wii U didn't sell it well in general, but right, that surprises me. Okay, yeah, if you can get it for cheap, I think it's worth. I think it's an underrated game.
I've got it on PC, but I don't have a PC to play it on.
Fair enough. It's not super demanding, so if you can get a reasonable PC, I don't. It's I think it'll run fairly well. So a lot of people don't like this game. I wasn't crazy about it to begin with, but over the years I've only grown more affectionate for it, I would say. It was a surprise initially that they didn't go with the boost formula, which seemed to be working really well for them. They sort of decided to go a completely different route and slow down Sonic and make a more thoughtful game, a game that is based visually quite heavily on Mario and Mario Galaxy in particular. There's a lot of kind of spherical worlds to walk around, a lot of kind of long cylindrical things, so it does that sort of gravity thing that Mario Galaxy does. The visual style is much kind of brighter, much more...
actually really like how it looks. The art style in it, I think, is really nice and vibrant and very Sonic-y, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost... Compared to other Sonic styles, you would call it more of a Mario aesthetic, but I think it actually really works with Sonic. You've got kind of the classic Badnik enemies in there. There's a focus on recapturing the animals, like in the original games. It's a nice little game. It's famous for having a run button, so you hold the trigger to run rather than using momentum. And similarly to recent 3D Sonic games, it has a 3D bit and a 2D bit. I think the 2D doesn't work so well with the run thing. It's you can get used to it, but it's you never quite have the momentum you feel like you should have. It feels a bit weird. But in 3D, I think it actually works quite well. You can actually jump from platform to platform when you're not holding the run button quite easily without fearing that you're going to fall off, which happens in almost every other 3D Sonic game. And so they have some nice sort of little platforming segments that aren't just about running. And actually, when it is about running, I think that's also handled really well, because in a lot of the levels, those sort of spherical things from Oil Ocean Zone that's sort of not...
Yeah, they sort of suck you in and shoot you out in a different direction.
Yeah, that's a standard object in this game. It appears throughout all the levels. And there's like a golden one that you can find in some levels on a sort of a higher up route. And if you get those, you often go down this sort of long winding path. You're sort of auto running and you've just got to move left and right and dodge stuff, and those bits are really, really fun. And there is a level that is based entirely on that as well, and it's just a shame that they never picked that up for ideas or advanced on that and some of the other good ideas that this game has. Because there are some things that let it down. The wisps are back, but they're not particularly well implemented, so there are various sort of problems with the game that sort of... I don't think it reviewed particularly poorly, but I think a lot of fans...
I think it was, just... I think it was like 7, 6 and 7.
Yeah, sort of average kind of reviews, but I think fans haven't really taken to it from what I've seen. And Sega, as a result, have sort of dropped it and not taken on any other ideas that it had. So I think it's a shame that it didn't take on the good ideas that it actually had. So yeah, I feel a bit sorry for it, really. I think it's an underrated game.
Yeah, I do remember it did get a little bit of a mocking at the time, because there was, as with a lot of games at the time and now, you get pre-order bonuses if you order it in advance.
Yeah.
The big pre-order bonus for Sonic Lost World was 25 extra lives. That was it. It's like, okay. Well, I mean,
thanks.
Okay.
I'll be needing those then. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I do want to get the game. So as soon as I'm, budgetary constraints are a bit more, palatable, I will definitely pick it up.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I don't know if you'll love it, but I think you'll see some good ideas.
Away, but it looks like I love the art style of it. It looks really, like I say, really vibrant, really Sonic-y. And yeah, it looks good fun to play. So I'm not expecting to be blown away by it, but I think I'll have a good time with it.
Yeah, I think more people should give it a chance. Yeah. Definitely. Got a really good soundtrack as well. The track I've chosen, the Symphony did a lovely version of this. This is a track called Sea Bottom Segway. It's sort of a grinding only level where you kind of go in this long sort of tunnel under the sea, and it's really nice. It appears in 2 different zones. So this is Sea Bottom Segway by Tomoya Otani. So we've got 2 games left on our list. They both came out in 2017. One of them's good, one of them's not so good. The not so good one came out second, but we're actually going to cover it first because it's nice to end on a high.
Yeah, I think that's
so.
a good idea.
Bear this in mind that this one came out at the end of 2017 and the other one came out in the middle of 2017. So the one we're talking about is Sonic Forces. Now we have discussed this game at least twice before in the podcast.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate Sonic Forces.
I didn't expect you to be so blunt.
Yeah. I don't. It's a game that rubs me up the wrong way. And you might say, oh yeah, you were saying good things about Sonic 06. And, objectively, I can't really argue that Sonic 06 is a better game. But I can argue that I prefer it over Sonic Forces because Sonic Forces just offends me in a way that I will explain. So basically, it's another boost game. You've got modern Sonic, you've got classic Sonic, and you've got this creative character person. Like you can create your own Sonic character, and they all and their levels are kind of fairly similar. He's got stuff he can do, yada yada. But see, there's the thing is, there's 4 I would say there's 4 criteria that I require a Sonic game to be good at in order for me to really like it. Okay, and there's other things, but if it gets these 4 things right, then I'll probably like it. Okay. So physics, and that sort of includes glitches and stuff as well. Obviously Sonic 06 failed in that bit. There's music, got to have a good soundtrack. There's level design, and there's sort of what I would call world design, so how the levels look, whether they're just standard tropes or whether they're interesting ideas and visually to look at. Like, can you enjoy being in there? Yeah. Sonic Forces fails on every single one of those things. And that's why I don't like it more than Sonic 06, because Sonic 06 at least gets some of those kind of right in a weird way. But it just offends me. The physics are all wrong.
The physics aren't great.
Sonic Generations and messed about with the values to make something that just plays really weirdly. You'll sort of start moving and he'll just immediately start running very, very quickly, and you've got no real control over him in the rare occasions where you actually have to do some sort of precision platforming, because most of it is just running and boosting and homing attacking. There is a level towards the end of modern Sonic's game, in fact I think it's his last one, where it feels like a parody of a Sonic game, because all you're doing, literally the only 2 things you're doing in that level are boosting and homing attacking, and it alternates between the 2, and there is nothing else to do in that whole level. Yeah. And it just feels like someone's made it just to mock Sonic, how Sonic games play. But no, it's a real thing, and it's the last level, for God's sakes. Yeah. I don't like the soundtrack. I think people do, but it's just it's not my thing. It's just too modern and kind of, I don't like it. And what was the other thing? The worlds. This is what annoys me the most. Basically what we've been saying earlier, it's so lazy. It just takes the zones from Generations and, they like Green Hill, they like Chemical Plant, they like Death Egg, let's just chuck them all in this game. Yeah. And the same with Classic Sonic. Classic Sonic doesn't need to be there at all. They've just taken him, Classic Sonic's popular. It's like they want the game to appeal to every type of Sonic fan at the same time, and yet it sort of fails at appealing to all of them, I would say. Yeah. Because, I don't know, I just find it offensive that they think they can get away with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say I find it offensive, but I think... it just takes itself so bloody seriously.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It does.
I can't.
We've talked about how tonally inconsistent it is throughout the whole thing.
It's all over the place. Yeah. It's all over the place.
The whole Sonic being tortured thing. Yeah. Is just, and he's fine. He's not. And,
I don't know. It's so po-faced, and it just makes it unintentionally hilarious. Because,
it does, yeah.
You can't. I don't know. I just can't imagine there being a Mario game, where Peach and Luigi and Yoshi are all sat round, or Yoshi are all sat round, really grim-faced, discussing how Bowser has enslaved the world, and Mario, what's happened to him? He's been tortured relentlessly, and all really seriously, like it's like a Tom Clancy political thriller. Yeah, and it's so ridiculous. It's a Red Echidna. Yeah. He punches things. That's his character trait, basically. You can't have him being all leading political thriller. It doesn't
leading
work.
A group of vigilantes.
Yeah, vigilantes, and I know. And I know the whole sort of freedom fighter aspect of it is like, from the old Saturday cartoons and the comics and stuff. Yeah, and I know that kind of thing is a big thing for certain parts of the fan base. But I just can't take Sonic that seriously.
I think in this context,
it's just a fun thing, know.
In this context,
definitely a context thing. Yeah,
it just doesn't work. I think. As you say, I don't mind the idea that Eggman has taken control over the world, because that is quite a common idea throughout Sonic history. Yeah. But it's just the way it's done is just so poor.
And I'm gonna sound like I'm like a broken record here, but it's that level. I can't even what it's called, where what's that like the nothing zone.
The null space.
Null space, yeah. That's a really neat idea. Oh, Sonic's been transported to an alternate dimension where there's nothing. It's a dimension of nothing. How's he going to escape? What's going to happen? That's a really interesting idea they could play with. What happens? You run in a straight line for 30 seconds and you're out.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's just mad.
I know. I mean, for me personally, because obviously throughout the noughties I was a big Sonic fan, and that allowed me to get through things like the Werehog and Sonic 06 and get through to the other side and try and find the enjoyment in the games as much as I can. In between Sonic Lost World and Sonic Forces, I sort of discovered other games. So Sonic wasn't really the centre of my gaming universe as much as it was before.
Yeah.
I got more into retro games and stuff. And so Sonic Forces comes along, and I genuinely don't know if, I would have hated it at any time, or whether it's just because I'm not as into that, as engrossed in that world, and it has to be good and I have to enjoy it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's what I've always wondered. Do I genuinely hate Sonic Forces if it appeared at any time in my history, or is it just because I've changed as a person?
I think you touched on it before, where they stuck in Green Hill and they stuck in classic Sonic, and there's even Sonic in there.
Is there?
Yeah, you like one of the T-shirts you can unlock has got Sonic on it.
Yeah.
And it does feel very pandery. It does feel like, look, we're cool. We know all the in jokes. Look at us. We know all about the things you like in Sonic.
Yeah.
Chemical Plant again. Look.
Yeah, you love that. You can't get enough of that.
You never shut up about Chemical Plant. Here it is. Do it again.
Do it again. Quick, they love it. Do it again. Put it out. Yeah, I really hope they've learned their lesson with all that regard, and this decade sees some originality again.
I do think the idea of the custom avatar, obviously it limits the storytelling aspect of it. Not that was particularly a strong suit in the game, let's be honest. No. But generally speaking, having like a custom avatar front and centre in any game, it kind of limits how it involved and how much flexibility you've got with the storytelling around that character, because obviously you don't know what the player's going to make.
He doesn't even have a proper name. Yeah.
No.
So they just call him Rookie, I think.
They just call him Rookie, yeah. But I think that idea has potential. I do think that character creator, I mean, you could make some hideous things with it. I think you could sort of tweak that and refine that, and that's a feature I wouldn't mind seeing come back in future Sonic games. But the rest of it, put in the skip, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't that jazzed by the character creator anyway. I didn't really mess around with it too much for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't find it the most unappealing part of the game. I think if you're into that kind of thing, and then a lot of people like making their own Sonic characters, and I understand that. If that's for them, that's great. Yeah, not a problem.
There's the old joke in it. You can Google for any name the Hedgehog, and you'll find an original character of it somewhere.
Exactly. So it's a logical feature for the people that like to do that, and I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. But everything else about the game I hate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, like you were saying about, when you can only praise the interface, the menu interface, and
which is okay in this one as well, to be fair.
Yeah, when the character creator that has absolutely zero material impact on the gameplay or story, when that's the best thing in the game, trouble ahead.
Yeah, it is funny that this is probably the only game in the series that I'm passionately disliking of. Yeah, there are various other smaller games that I don't like, but this one it just rubs me up the wrong way. As a Sonic fan, I find it offensive. But anyway, that's enough. We've talked. I don't think we should ever talk about Sonic Forces again, because we've already given. We've said everything that's bad about the game. I think we're banned. Both of us are banned from talking about Sonic Forces forever now.
Okay.
So right, but you've chosen the track, which is the main theme, Fist Bump, which is actually the only song I actually really like in the game, to be fair. I quite like this.
I like it, but only because it's so bad. It's kind of like a so bad it's good kind of thing.
Yeah, I quite like the tune. I think it's all right, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's very corny, but I like it for that reason.
That's what you get with Sonic lyrical themes, though, isn't it? They're all pretty corny.
They're all pretty corny, but I mean, yeah, this one really pushes the boat out. But yeah, okay. I still like it. I unironically like it. I just think it's just really corny. But yeah, it's great. Give it a play.
Yeah, it's called Fist Bump by Douglas Robb from some band called Hoobastank.
I can't do this alone, even though I am strong. Need something more than me, someone to push me to victory. Let's see what we can do together, me and you. Can't be afraid to try. Kiss your fears goodbye. No looking back. You and I were on the attack. Full speed ahead, running to the sunset. Such a different feeling. Both of us believing we can make it better. Together we can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Push me on through until the battle's won. No one's gonna give nothing to us. Into each other we put our trust. Standing united after the fight. All alone we will never be. The two of us are holding the key. We see today a world we couldn't see. Before I say goodbye to you, one more last fist bump. I know you have been afraid before, but you don't have to be anymore. No more emptiness to feel inside. When we run together, no one can break up our stride. No looking back. You and I were on the attack. Full speed ahead, running to the sunset. Such a different feeling. Both of us believing we can make it better. Together we can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Push me on through until the battle's won. No one's gonna give something to us. Into each other we put our trust. Standing united after the fight is done. We can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Pushing on through until the battle's won. No one's gonna give something to us. Into each other we put our trust. Standing united after the fight. It's a brand new day. We have turned the page. Never knew how much I needed somebody to help me this way. All alone we will never be. The two of us are holding the key. We see today a world we couldn't see. Before I say goodbye to you, one more last fist bump.
Some band called Hoobastank. Have
Yeah.
you never heard of Hoobastank?
Is Hoobastank a thing?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh no, I don't. It's not.
Well, I mean, they're not now. They're not so much now, but they were
Oh,
back
right.
in, I don't know, 2004. They were
Oh,
very
really? What have they done?
good. The Reason.
Don't
I'm not
know.
going to sing it.
No,
No, I
No.
can't sing that. But yeah, they were good.
I've got to be honest. Outside of Sonic music and outside of game music, I don't know music very well. It's not
No.
my world. I don't.
No.
Yeah, it's not. I just listen to game music all the time. Sorry. Anyway, so now that we've got all that out of the way, let's end on a high.
Oh.
The highest high we could end on. We're talking about Sonic Mania. The little
game.
gem, the lovely Christmas... No, it's not a Christmas present. The lovely summer present of 2017 Sonic Mania for PS4, Switch, Xbox One and PC. This was developed by fans. Developed by Christian Whitehead, Pagoda West Games and Headcanon. So... You can't talk about Sonic Mania without talking about the origins of Christian Whitehead and how he started getting involved in Sonic games. Obviously, he originally was famous for the fan game Retro Sonic.
Yeah.
And the retro engine.
It's so mental to me that I remember us downloading that way back when and talking about it on MSN, oh, look, this is really cool. This is like the closest the physics have got in a fan game and all that kind of stuff.
For the time, it was remarkably... It was a huge step from everything else.
It was so much... It was so leaps and bounds ahead of everything else.
Yeah.
And it's just so mental to me to think that we were playing it then, having no idea what that would evolve into, down the line. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So about 10 years after that, he put a video out on YouTube showing Sonic CD running in his retro engine on an iPhone, I think it was.
Yeah.
So he ported at least part of Sonic CD to his engine. Suddenly the video got taken down. It all went hush hush. Soon enough, Sega had hired him to make the port a real thing, which was amazing. Sonic CD brought up to date with everything else. Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 followed. And they're just amazing versions, probably the definitive versions of those games.
Yeah, for my money, they're definitely the definitive versions.
Yeah, and then I remember when this was announced. This was announced on, I think it was the night of the 25th anniversary. So they had a big sort of online, they had a live Sonic event that was broadcast online, and it was happening at 3 a.m. in our country. I thought, I'm probably not going to stay up for that, but if I happen to be awake at 3 a.m, I'll put it on. Sure enough, I was awake at 3 a.m, so I put it on, and I kind of had it on. I was half dozing, and they were announcing all this Sonic stuff. And yeah, they put the trailer up, and then Christian Whitehead himself came out, and he said, yeah, it's real, it's happening, and it was just mind-blowing. And, obviously I didn't get much sleep after that. And then when I woke up, I felt like, did I dream that? Was that a real thing? It was so surreal.
Is this real life?
It's just the way he came out and said it's the kind of thing that would happen in a dream. Do you know what I mean? Like this. I mean, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Sonic Mania is, it is like the real Sonic 4. As it kind of as it would have been in the mid 90s. I think you have to accept that it also has redone zones like Green Hill, Chemical Plant again.
I imagine that was mandated. I don't know if I got no basis for that, but given their prominence in other games, I would imagine that was part of the deal. We'll let you do it, but you're doing Green Hill and Chemical Plant.
It's like a contractual agreement for any Sonic game in that decade. But to be fair, they're done really well. As you move into Act 2 of each of those zones, it almost feels like a whole different zone in some cases. And so there's 8 of those zones from previous Sonic games, and there's 4 brand new ones, and they just fit together perfectly as if they'd always been together. They're beautifully done. So you've got Studiopolis Zone, you've got Press Garden, Mirage Saloon, and what's the other one? Yeah, Titanic Monarch.
I can't remember that. I don't like that. That's the only one I don't like.
That's the only one I don't like. I like it, but I don't. It's a bit weak as a final level, in my opinion.
I think it's because the game keeps the 10-minute time limit, and there's really not much. 10 minutes is pretty tight to play it. Maybe I'm just bad at it, but I get pretty close to that 10-minute limit playing Titanic Monarch. So there's not much time to explore and really take in the level. It's just, I got to do this.
You've got to climb up this big tall thing, go into this massive mech,
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a dream come true, really, for Sonic fans.
It's such a good game.
It's funny, I remember our old school friend Martino.
Yes.
In, I think it was about 2005, 2006, he was coming to my house and we would sit and play Sonic games. I think it was on Mega Collection. And we'd kind of try and get the best times and see who would, just for old time's sake, And he was saying they should just do this. They should just take levels, they should just do basic levels like these and just do a massive game full of them and then put it out. And at the time, I said that would never happen. Because at that time that wouldn't happen. You just wouldn't get that in the mid-noughties. No. Things were kind of moving forward all the time. People didn't want to look back. Retro was not a thing yet. So Sonic Team would never have done that. And even in 2017, I think the guy who runs Sonic Team, Takashi Iizuka, said he was really nervous about announcing it because he kind of thought people still didn't want it.
It blows my mind that. Are we really in such a minority among like Sonic fans that we just want a good Sonic game like the old ones?
No, certainly not. But that's kind of what he thought. I mean, to be fair, it is confusing when you've got so many different. Sonic's been around for 30 years, and you've got so many different people coming in at different times. Like Sonic
that is true. Yeah,
a lot of kids like Sonic now. And they come in at all these, so the next generation, Sonic Adventure 2, that was a whole new generation of fans, people who grew up on the adventure games, and that was their thing. You've got people who grew up on Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generation, Sonic Colors. And, not to mention all the comics and cartoons and everything, you've got so many different fans who want different things. To be fair to him, it is hard to know who to listen to.
Yeah.
Because, they're the people who are going to be spending the money and buying it, So... But I'm glad that he took a chance on this, because this is what a lot of us old-timey Sonic fans who've been there from the beginning want. And it's just a full-on classic Sonic game. All the sort of in that original sprite style. They've souped it up a bit. It looks really shiny, widescreen and everything. But it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's just so good. I can't say enough good things about it. Compared to what we were just talking about with Sonic Forces and how pandering it felt with all the sort of references. They all felt a little bit shoehorned in. There's so many references and little Easter eggs and things like this to old Sonic games and Sonic fandom, but none of it feels forced. It all really feels really loving and really, put in from a place of passion and personal affection.
It's hard to know whether that's because it's made by fans rather than Sonic Team themselves, because of kind of being condescending. But
it could be, but I think
even if Sonic Team had done those, it would still feel nicer than the obvious Green Hill, etc.
Yeah.
There's so many little touches, isn't there?
There's so many little touches. Like one of my favourites is Studiopolis. When you beat the boss of the zone, there's like a TV in the background showing like a weather report and things. When the zone finishes, you can hear a tone playing, and it's the same tone at that disastrous Sonic Live event that they did, where they were completely plagued with technical problems and the mics kept cutting out and everything like that. And on the live stream, throughout the whole thing, there was this just a tone going.
I don't remember that. I have read this. I read this quite recently.
Yeah.
I don't remember that event at all.
Oh, do you not? Yeah,
no.
I only remember it because it was so mocked, and there were YouTube videos all over it, like the highlights of cringe highlights and things. But yeah, this tone was going through the whole thing, and that tone is the same thing that plays at the end, and it's like it's such a deep cut. No one would really get that, but it's just that little attention to detail, and I love it.
The general Sega things in there as well, like there's the car from Daytona USA is referenced.
Yeah,
that little van that you go in. There's there's a sign from Streets of Rage, I think, isn't there?
Oh, the pine pot thing. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That level is full. I mean, I think they spent a lot of time on that level, because I think they pitched it to Sonic Team. That's what they pitched.
That was the level they showed off to try and get the game commission.
So obviously they packed, and you can kind of tell they packed so much into that level. It's just brilliant, isn't it?
It's just. Yeah, I love it. I love everything with the exception of Titanic Monarch. I love everything about the game.
Yeah. I mean, I was disappointed because I didn't know how many original stages there would be versus how many classic stages there would be. I was a bit disappointed that it was a sort of a 2/3 balance of classic stages versus original ones, but it's just something you have to accept. I think
that's Sega insisting on that.
It is a caveat, yeah. But, I mean, it was exciting to see which ones they would pick and what they would do with them. They're still great stages to play.
Yeah, they're so inventive, the things they've done with them. Like, the boss of Chemical Plant being Dr. Robotnik's Mean Beam Machine.
It's beautiful. Sonic Team would never do that. There's so many things like that Sonic Team would just never do.
I remember I was just grinning ear to ear the first time I played through it. There was just one thing after another. There were so many cool little touches.
And the Hydra City Act 1 boss where it just reverses, so you're in Eggman's machine and you try and scoop him up. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I love it. It's so good. Why hasn't there been a Sonic Mania 2? Why haven't they announced Sonic Mania 2?
It is literally the most obvious thing you would do ever, isn't it, really?
And I remember reading that haven't Headcanon Games and someone they've moved on to other projects, and they're definitely not on the payroll at Sega at the moment. So it really looks like there's not a Sonic Mania 2 in development.
That makes me sad. I know they formed a company called Evening Star, I think. But I didn't know that. If that's true, then that's
I remember reading that. We'll have to check it. But I do remember reading that. Someone did some sleuthing and found they don't seem to be involved with any projects at Sega at all.
After this, that was the highest rated Sonic game since Sonic and Knuckles, I think.
I bought it 3 times.
I bought it 3 times as well. It's just. I don't know why. I just do,
Well, I bought it. It's the same. It's like you said with some of the other Sonic games. I bought it on the. I bought it digitally because it wasn't gonna arrive on time, and I didn't want to miss out on it. The physical version.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't the physical version. It was the.
It was the physical version that didn't have a physical version in it.
Yeah, it was a collector's edition with a code in a box kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought it digitally, and then I bought it again for Switch digitally because I wanted to play it portable. Yeah. And then I bought the physical version on Switch when it came out again. So I bought it 3 times.
Yeah. The worst thing about the day when it came out, that night I was so excited about it, I just didn't get any sleep, which is ridiculous. Alice was quite young then, and I wasn't getting much sleep anyway, and it was just, and I took the day off to play it. And I was playing it for a couple of hours, and I thought, I've got to go to bed.
I'm too tired.
I'm so tired. I've ruined this for myself. So I had to go and have a 2-hour nap. Yeah.
It's such a good game, though. Honestly, if Sega don't do Sonic Mania 2, and this year is the perfect perfect time to announce it.
When they did a few weeks ago, when they did the all the announcements of stuff they're going to do this year, I thought, it's got to be Mania 2. It's got to be Mania 2.
It's got to be Mania 2.
How could you not? I don't understand.
If they don't do it, there's something seriously going wrong at Sega. Someone's got to sit it down and have a word.
Yeah.
There needs to be an intervention.
Yeah. Listen, we've been seeing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think just have a little sit down and talk to you for a second.
There's no shame in asking for help, Sega.
No. There isn't.
No one's going to judge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a judgment-free zone. Just tell us what the problem is, and we can sort it.
We can sort it. Is it music rights again? We can sort them. We'll pay. We'll give you money to pay them. It's fine.
Honestly, but how good would Sonic Mania 2 be? No shoehorned in classic zones. Just give them free reign.
Yeah,
to do whatever they want.
The Sonic game that should have come out in the mid-noughties. Mid-90s. It'd just be perfect, like a completely original Sonic game. I think the non-original zones in that Sonic Mania are the only things holding it back from being better than, say, Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if they were to come up with a game full of original zones and for them to be the same quality as those, I think you'd have potentially the best Sonic game of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think it might well dethrone Sonic 3 and Knuckles as the definitive Sonic experience.
Yeah, if they can wrap it up with a good, simple story that is as epic as Sonic 3 and Knuckles is, then definitely so, I think.
Yeah, I can't say a bad thing about it. I love it. I love everything about it.
And of course, the soundtrack by T. Lopes is phenomenal.
Oh, superb.
Yeah, his versions of the original tracks are great, but his original compositions are just as good. They're really good. And the one that you've chosen is, of course, Studiopolis Zone Act 1, aka Lights, Camera, Action. So, take us home, T. Lopes. Right, so that about wraps up 30 years of Sonic goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did the right decision leaving Mania to last.
Oh, we couldn't. I thought about this, and we couldn't possibly end on Sonic Forces. It just. I've mentioned it, so I've broken my rule. But yeah, we couldn't end on that game.
No. Although technically they are linked, aren't they, story-wise?
Sadly, they are. Yeah.
You know.
They have got the same the Phantom Ruby. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
We didn't talk about the hard-boiled heavies. I mean, they're worthy of a discussion on their own, but we'll leave that for another time because this is mainly about music, and so we'll stick. I just love Sonic Mania. I just love it.
It's just a great game. Yeah,
it's just so good.
If you don't have it, then there's no excuse for you not to go and get it. It's on everything, you know.
Yeah, it is. Go buy it.
Yeah, it was even free last week on Epic Games, I think. It's just
was it?
yeah. It's just own it. Why do you not own it already? Go and own it.
Go own it.
Right, so so that went all well, didn't it? That Sonic,
I think it did,
Sonic thing. I think that was quite a nice little celebration of all Sonic goodness. It allowed me to get a lot of Sonic things out of my system that I've been wanting to talk about since we started the podcast, really. Because I don't want to go on about Sonic all the time. I feel sometimes when we talk about Sonic a lot on the show, I feel a bit guilty about people who don't like Sonic. They're mentioning that Hedgehog again, so I thought we'll get it all out. You know, in these 2 episodes. If they don't like it, they don't have to listen to it. And then
I'm not ruling out future Sonic episodes.
No, certainly not. No,
I think there's definitely we could do some of the lesser known Sonic games and stuff like that. So I think that, you know, if you are a Sonic fan, I think there may be something for you coming up in future. But
of course, we're not going to rule it out at all. But it's if you couldn't tell, it's something I'm extremely passionate about. It's been a great 30 years, even with the highs and the lows. You know,
does make you feel old though, doesn't it? 30 years.
I know. I mean, what makes you feel older? That Sonic 1 is 30 years old, that Sonic Adventure 2 is 20 years old, or that Sonic Generations is 10 years old?
Oh, I didn't think of Sonic Adventure 20 years old.
Yeah, that's because I remember that. I don't really remember 91 very well, but I remember 2001, and that was 20 years ago. How's that happen?
Oh no, that's mental.
I remember we were getting through our GCSEs at the time, and you know, the only thing getting me through that was getting to Sonic Adventure 2 at the end of that, because it came out in the summer. But I can't believe that was 20 years ago. Mental.
It is mental. We sound like a couple of old duffers,
yeah.
But it really is. Oh jeez, I can feel myself aging in real time.
Yeah, it's weird when you remember things so clearly and they happened that long ago.
I know. Age is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
Because the childhood years, like the 90s, seem to feel like they went on for like 20 years worth of everything that's happened since. Do you know what I mean? Like twice as long. And
to me, like in my memory, I thought this when we covered Dino Crisis. It doesn't feel that long ago to me that I remember just being sat in the bedroom, curtains closed, lights off, playing Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
You know, all excited about it. PlayStation was like the hottest thing. You know, that whole era. It really doesn't seem like that long ago. And then you actually think about how much time has passed, and you think, bloody hell.
Yeah. I know. Oh. Where's it go?
You know, and I talk about the PlayStation, how much it's a console that means a lot to me, and how influential it was.
Yeah.
You know, kids today be like, "All right, Grandad, we've got PlayStation 5 now."
And the idea that whole people walking around talking on Twitter were born not even after that, but after 2001. It's just these are people that have opinions going around, and they haven't experienced all these things. How is that allowed?
I know. How's that allowed? How are they allowed to tell us what a good Sonic game is?
Well,
you weren't there.
You weren't there, man.
You weren't there, mate. You know, sit down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's enough of that. I feel like we do that almost every episode. Something like that. We have some sort of rant like that.
I know. We're like bloody. What's the two ones from the Muppets, Statler and Waldorf?
Yeah, that's totally us. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so we'll be resuming regular service next month when we talk about The Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
Minish Cap.
Which I've bought a perfectly legit copy for £5 on eBay.
£5? That's a bargain.
Yes, it must be legit.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, at least it'll play. It'll find it. It's a game. You can play it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Right. Good. So we're going to go and play that, and we'll be back sort of next month or so, whenever we've got through a decent amount of it.
I will say, just a little teaser. First impressions, good.
Well, excellent. Good. I'm very, very interested to see how you get on with the Zelda. I'm really interested. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be our book club pick. Normal episode next time. So in the meantime, you can talk to us on email. We are podemup@gmail.com. On Twitter, we're at podemup. And podemup.live is the one I always forget. Is our little website with all our previous episodes. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of them now. So go and listen to them. See what takes your fancy.
I just want to add a little addendum.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you got yourself a PC and you got yourself a little copy of Sonic Generations, you can head online and you can find yourself a little mod where you can have Sonic replaced with an actual real hedgehog. It's great.
I've heard you talk about this before, but I still haven't seen it. I need to go and find it out.
Yeah, look it up. It's lovely. Little anatomically correct hedgehog dashing about the place. Beautiful. Yeah,
you can also get all the daytime levels in Sonic Unleashed ported into Sonic Generations as well. If you haven't done that, if you want to experience the best of Sonic Unleashed without the worst of it, do that. It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I do remember that. That was a work in progress project back, when I had a PC and I did play a few of those. Very good.
Yeah, I mean it's all finished. They're not exactly the same. They've had to make some caveats, but they're mostly pretty accurate and they're very good. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see? Oh, sorry, we keep going on.
No, that's all right.
There's that dude who's recreating Sonic 06, and he's remaking
Unity,
it from the ground up in Unity.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, it is good. I think.
I mean, the game's not good, but I mean the fact that he's made such an accurate recreation.
It's remarkable.
Unity is remarkable.
If you play it, I played a demo, the Kingdom Valley demo, a while ago, and it plays exactly like the real thing, which is a good and bad thing. You thought he'd fix some bugs and stuff, but
Yeah, but I mean, considering it's done by one guy,
I know.
It's so impressive.
The things people can do in Unity is baffling, and it runs really well too. Just on I think I just had it on my work laptop, and it was running, 60 frames a second, very smooth.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So go and check that out.
Oh, I might try that then, because that's all I got, a little crummy laptop. So
I think it'll run okay. I'm sure I ran it on a laptop and it was fine.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Right. Anything else? Or are we done?
No, we're done. I was going to say one more thing just as a joke then, but then we'll leave it. We've done enough. We've Sonic'd ourselves out now, I think.
We have. Yeah. I'm going to go and play something else for a change.
Bubsy.
Yeah. Bubsy. We should do Bubsy in the book club one day.
Oh dear. Bubsy 3D.
Bubsy 3D. We do all of them. Bubsy 1, Bubsy 2,
That was
Bubsy
one of the
3D.
first games I had on my PlayStation as well.
Was it? Oh dear.
Yeah.
My condolences.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played it, but I know it's got a terrible reputation.
It does. At the time, I played it because it's one of the only ones I had, so I played it. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Time to go.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.